to another Wednesday with me, Mr. Goodie Grammar. I cannot thank you enough for dropping by General Grammar tonight to talk all about what? What was that? Oh yeah, commas! Part 2, the sequel. Are we gonna have some blockbuster hits tonight? You know it. Oh, so get ready for another Wednesday. Okay, grammar goodies, I know you're already buckled up and ready to go. So, I say we jump into it. For tonight's festivities, we'll start with a basket breaker, followed by commas, and then we shall check out and go on our adventures. Wow, I should get a Grammy for that one. So, let's start it off with a little basket breaker.
Uh-oh.
For this week's basket breaker, the question is, do you add unnecessary details to your stories? Mr. Goodie Grammar, what are you talking about? I'm talking about this, where you are, oh, this happened today and and you give too much detail. Are you one of those people that you just, every little thing, detail? Are you quick, concise? What do you think? Go ahead and drop that into the comments section. Whether you're with me right now on Facebook Live or a little later on YouTube, make sure to participate by answering the questions in the comments section. I want to know if my grammar goodies are blabbers like me, or if they keep it concise. Which one are you? Put it in the comments. And while you do that, I'll go ahead and give you my answer. Put simply, yes, as I just explained, I am someone who gives way too much detail. I go on and on. At one point, I'm talking about Cinderella somehow paying her taxes, and then I'm talking about a beluga whale, so who knows anymore? But you know what I do know? That I can give tons of unnecessary detail. I'm curious about your answers, but sadly, and by that I mean not sadly, let's go ahead and drink up some radioactive waste.
3, 2, 1.
When it comes to the radioactive waste, we're going to talk about a comma. Oh, but Mr. Goodie Grammar, I wasn't here last week. I don't know what a comma is. Well, comma down. Let's start there. Because I'll go ahead and review that with you. What is a comma? Commas help show where words and ideas are divided. You put a comma between words and ideas to show where they split apart, where we can separate them. And they can sometimes be representative of a pause. Of course, in our writing, we want to have pauses. It helps with pace and fluency. And finally, a comma can also show the relationship between words and ideas in a sentence. Yes, we can see how they are divided, but we can also see the relationship between words and ideas by using a comma. And we're going to get into that tonight. Yeah! However, this right here, fundamental characteristics of a comma. Alrighty. Here's a quick note, and I know a lot of writers do this. They use commas in a variety of ways. For example, last week, commas part 1. Check it out. We talked about how we use commas for lists and prepositional phrases. Tonight, we're going to go ahead and talk all about using commas to add extra information and how they set off direct quotes. Oh, two essential methods behind using a comma in your writing that can create versatility and make your commas self-dense. I don't know about the second part, but still kind of a cool idea. So to start it off, I'm going to talk about commas and extra information. This is going to look very similar to a concept we covered a couple of weeks ago about double commas and double dashes that pop, put in extra info. So let's go ahead and refresh. Commas and extra information. Basically, commas are used around words and phrases that interrupt the sentence with information that's not necessary. Huh? Let me restate it. Basically, you can use commas, interject it into a sentence to add extra info into the sentence that you don't necessarily need. However, it's fun to interrupt things with unnecessary comments from time to time. The unnecessary information should be set apart with the commas. Whatever extra info you're adding in there, it does not need to just flow with the regular sentence, right? Where if you don't add punctuation, it just goes in. No. If you're adding extra information into a sentence, you need to use two commas to set it off. And the added information may be interesting, right? Maybe, whoa! But if we lift it out of there, it wouldn't change the meaning of the sentence. So again, this is extra information that we add in with two commas, but it's not necessary information. And we'll go through a couple of examples tonight. Let's see what's going on. So here we have our first example. The man who always eats cereal fought a mythical creature. Whoa! Was it a unicorn, a dementor, a dragon? Who knows? But we know that the man eats cereal and he's the one who, boom, took down a mythical creature. Let's say we get rid of these commas for a second. Our regular sentence is, the man fought a mythical creature. So everything outside of those double commas makes up our original sentence. The man fought a mythical creature. But no, grammar goodies, am I basic? Am I just average? Absolutely not. I'm extremely extra. So I want to add a little information that describes the man in a little bit more detail. So I input directly after the man, comma, who always eats cereal, comma, and that extra information does describe the man. And I inserted it into the sentence by using two commas. So is it necessary to know that this man always eats cereal? Absolutely not, even if it is quite funny. Ooh, Lucky Charms. And you'll notice, if we take this out, who always eats cereal, it wouldn't affect the meaning of the sentence whatsoever. Again, we're using these two commas, putting them into the middle or somewhere in the sentence, and we're dropping in extra information. And it's unnecessary information. Pretty cool, right? Yeah! I'm hyped about it. But poor mythical creature. Let's go ahead and look at another example. Farquaad, my brother's squire, epically won the chess match. Wow! Farquaad, way to go! First of all, grammar goodies, can you go ahead and tell me in the comments what the original sentence is? So take out this extra information and just tell me what the original sentence is. This helps break down how we set up our sentences, so you can identify the different parts. So what would the original sentence be without the extra information with the two commas in there? What would we get? we would get Farquaad epically won the chess match. That's our regular. Farquaad epically won the chess match. But I'm not basic. So I put comma, my brother Squire, comma, and that gave extra information about Farquaad. Again, this is not necessary information though. And if I took that out of there, it wouldn't change the meaning of the sentence. However, you will see that this structure, whatever it describes or information directly after it, will usually be after whatever it describes. Kind of cool, right? The idea that you could take a complete sentence and then break it apart with 2 commas to add extra info in there. Who would have thought? Let's go on to another one. Here, I want to show you the progression I was talking about. Let's take a look. Our original sentence will be, the house could not be sold. Tough market. This is our original sentence. But again, I want to add a little spice into it, right? Let's turn up the heat. So I can use those 2 commas and that extra info to, guess what? Bop! Go ahead and describe the house a little bit more. Take a look. The house, comma, dilapidated and unclean, comma, could not be sold. I use these 2 commas here to insert dilapidated and unclean into my sentence. That's all you're doing. Just going and adding extra info. Awesome. Let's look at another example. The house, comma, lost beneath the sands of time, comma, could not be sold. Once again, we're taking that original sentence, the house could not be sold, and we are adding extra information into it by using boop, those 2 commas. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Let's go forward with this example. Colton, who lives in Narnia, loves to bobsled. Well, Colton, luckily you're in Narnia. Snow everywhere, right? So, in this case, our original sentence would have been, Colton loves to bobsled. Great activity. But hold up. Colton is an MVP. We want to give some more information. Who is Colton? So, we added who lives in Narnia into the sentence. We interrupted the sentence. We went, hold up. So we can add this unnecessary but extra information. All right, pretty cool. How you doing so far, grammar goodies? Go ahead and tell me 1 through 5 in the comments section. 1 if you're like, Mr. Goody Grammar, at this point I'm so lost. And put a 5 if, whoa, you got this down and you're crushing it. Let me know, 1 through 5. Throw it into the comments. Again, whether you're with me right now on Facebook Live or a little later on YouTube, participate. And while you do that, watch me go ahead and grab some hydration. Yeah! So hopefully you're at a 5. If you're not, no sweat. We're going to practice, practice, practice. Okay. Mr. Goody Grammar, you must be a psychic. You knew what was coming next. Of course I did. I made this. So we are going to jump into some practice. In the comment section, what I want you to do is write an original sentence that uses 2 commas, also known as parenthetical commas, but that's extra, to insert extra information into your sentence. Basically, what I would like you to do is write an original sentence and use 2 commas in there to add extra information into your sentence. What do you want to write about? Beluga whales? Bobbit worms? Or possibly, retirement? Who knows? You do because you're creating that sentence. And you're also using 2 commas to add in that extra info. Get to it! Practice it up while I do 5 seconds of this dancing move. Alright, we're moving on. So, now that we talked about the first little method of using a comma, we're going to jump into something that is so important. That's how important it is. I'm talking about commas and direct quotations. Any writer needs to know how to do this. You will use this in school, work, everything in between. When it comes to direct quotes, you really need to understand the relationship between the direct quotations and commas so you can effectively flow your writing. And I'm going to jump into it right now. Here's the situation. We'll use commas to set off a direct quotation from the rest of the sentence. It's like it separates it in a way from the rest of the sentence. Because a direct quotation, is different from the words that you're writing. If a direct quote ends the sentence, put the punctuation mark within the quotation marks. Again, a direct quote is someone else's words in quotation marks. Cool. And how we kind of organize the quotations, I'm going to show you tonight. But keep in mind, if a direct quote is at the end of your sentence, then you need to put the punctuation mark within the quotations, even if it isn't your own, that direct quotation mark's punctuation. Like, put it in there. That was unclear. Let me rewind. What I mean by that is, if you have a quote at the end of the sentence, put whatever punctuation mark goes with the quote in there. So if it ends with a period, put the period right at the end of the quote, inside the quotation marks. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same table, eating up these delicious commas. Okay, let me show you all what I'm talking about. The different ways to set off direct quotes with commas. What I'm going to talk about first is leading into a direct quote. So starting off a sentence with your own words to build into a direct quote. Let me show you. So when the introductory words appear before the quotation, a comma follows them. So basically the structure is going to look like this. Your own words that are flowing and introducing the quote. And in order to separate those, we're going to use a comma. Let's look. Minnie Kitty stated, comma, my whiskers are actually mind-controlling antennas. Great! If you notice here, I have gone ahead and underlined the introduction to this direct quote. Minnie Kitty stated, those are my own words, right? I'm saying that Minnie Kitty said this. And then I have the quote that is directly from Minnie Kitty. And in order to separate them, I have to use this comma. Minnie Kitty stated, comma, and then get into the quote. This divides them. That way, again, you can see that flow. Minnie Kitty stated, and then the quote. So, if your sentence begins with an introduction to the quote, you want to set it off with a comma. There are other ways to punctuate this, but for right now, we're just focusing on that little saucy comma. Minnie Kitty stated, comma, and then our quotation. Also, keep in mind, look at that period right there. This period, since the quote ends the sentence, this period is inside the quotation marks. Whoa! Let's go ahead and look at some more examples. Example. King Arthur said, "Throw the sword into the lake." Okay, so here we have, once again, an introduction into the direct quotation. We have King Arthur said. Those are my words. I'm building into it. This is King Arthur. This is what he said. And then the direct quotation here is, guess what? What King Arthur said. So since my sentence starts with an introduction, King Arthur said, I want to set it off from the direct quotation with a comma. Woo! Simple, right? Let's go ahead and now I want to go back real quick. In essence, if your sentence starts with introductory phrases, something to lead into the direct quote, you want to use a comma right before it. Notice that the comma is not inside the quotation marks. It goes comma and then you start your quotation marks. Followed by this period here, inside the quotation marks as well, and then the end of the quote. Woo! Again, I'm going to teach you different ways of using commas to kind of rearrange the quote, introduce it in different ways. So let's talk about commas and interruptions. As I've told you tonight, you use 2 commas in order to insert extra information into a sentence. But let's say that we want to add extra information into the middle of a direct quote. What? Oh, outrageous! It's actually quite simple, and it will pull from what we just talked about. Let me tell you about it. If the direct quote, whatever someone said, is interrupted by the explanation of who said it, a comma is placed inside the quotation marks at the end of the first part of the quotation. And again, I'm just kind of listing these rules right now, but I'll show you in a couple of seconds. So if your sentence starts with a quote, you go quote, 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 and then a comma comes in. Because I'm going to interrupt this quote right in the middle of it, use 2 commas to add extra info, and then I continue my quote. So another comma follows the explanatory words before the quotation marks that begin the next part of the quotation. What does all this mean, Mr. Goody Grammar? Let me show you. Originally, we had the sentence, throw the sword into the lake. We also had King Arthur said, comma, throw the sword into the lake. What's different here is, yes, we still have the same quote, throw the sword into the lake. However, instead of putting King Arthur said at the beginning, we threw it into the middle of our sentence. We're crazy! And commas are just as crazy too, because you'll notice, much like before, it is put in there to set off this information of who said it from the direct quote. What you need to pay attention to here that's different from just doing it in your regular sentences is where the commas are placed in proximity to, guess what? Quotation marks. Let me break it down. Here we have throw the sword. Before, we did not have a comma in the original quote. Throw the sword into the lake. There was no comma. But here, since we're inserting it, we need to put a comma here. And we need to put it directly after the last word, wherever we're interjecting. So comma inside the quotation marks. Inside the quotation marks. Because you want to put it right with that and then end there. Because that's the natural pause. Now we have inserted King Arthur said into the middle of our quote. And oh my gosh, what's this? Oh, it's a comma. Okay? And this makes, again, like inserting it into the middle of a quote. And we put the comma here before the quotation marks to set it off. Much like we had prior. If we just had King Arthur said, throw the sword into the lake, we use the comma beforehand. It's still the same. The only difference here is that we have it interrupted in the middle, so we need to put that comma in the quotation to separate it from the regular words. Ah! It sounds a little complex, but if you break it down and really pay attention to where you're putting your punctuation marks, it actually is quite simple. But let's look at a couple of examples. My whiskers, Minnie Kitty said, are mind-controlling antennas. Whoa! Once again, you'll see that we had this sentence, my whiskers are mind-controlling antennas. We used the version, Minnie Kitty said, comma, my whiskers are mind-controlling antennas. However, here, we're taking that quote and we're inserting the information that Minnie Kitty is the one who said it. So we start with our quote, my whiskers, comma, to set it off, because we know we're going to add in some extra info. Minnie Kitty said, comma, are mind-controlling antennas. We are doing the same thing that we're doing at the beginning of the episode, using two commas to insert extra information. However, this comma here that interrupts the first part of the quote needs to be inside the quotation mark, and then the second one that's about to, guess what, introduce the second part of the quote is outside the quotation marks, right before it. So think before and before. Sweet. Let's go on. Long live, Squealer expounded, Comrade Napoleon. Animal Farm, great book by George Orwell. Make sure to check it out. Also, what you should check out is how the commas are used here. The original quote is, long live, Comrade Napoleon. Cool! But we want to go ahead and add in this information of who expounded it, which was Squealer. Once again, we divided the quote by using these commas. This comma is within the quotation mark, and this one is right before the last part of the quotation. Cool, right? Alrighty. Don't go living your life, my mother said, without following your dreams. Great, right? Thanks, Mom. The original quote is, don't go living your life without following your dreams. Great advice. Who said this? Oh yeah, my mother said this. And we're interjecting that information into the middle of the quote. It's like we're starting the quote, my mother is saying this, interrupted to say my mother said, and then we continue her quote. Cool! And you'll see it's interrupted with our double commas. The first one goes within, and the second one is outside of the ending part of the quote. Starting to see the structure? I know you are. Woo! So, it's time for you to go ahead and practice. Here's what you're going to do. In the comment section, write an original sentence where a direct quote is interrupted by explanatory words. What I mean by that is take any kind of quote, all right? Maybe your mom said it, maybe, your favorite cartoon character said it. And then insert that explanatory kind of phrase or situation. Who said it? For example, let's say this is in quotes, right? My original quote is, I am the champion. I would start, if I want to interject, I am, comma, end of quotation. I said, comma, start of quotation. I am champion, the champion. So the champion over here. So again, the practice is, in the comments, write an original sentence where a direct quote is interrupted by explanatory words. And you want to use the double comma for it. So get to it. What are you going to write? I want to know. And while you do that, I'm going to have something called hydration. Okay. Yay. How'd you do? Whether you're with me right now on Facebook Live, or a little later on, guess what? YouTube. Participate with me. Okay. Now, I want to talk all about starting a sentence with a direct quote. This is going to be a little emotional for you because it's easy and I got you on this. Here's the thing. If a direct quote begins the sentence, the comma is placed inside the quotation mark to separate it from the words that come after it. Much like we had before with the interruption. Let me show you. Throw the sword into the lake, which is the full quote that we've had tonight. Throw the sword into the lake, comma, King Arthur said. You'll notice in this that we're setting off, boop, this quote from the explanatory words of, guess what, who said it? King Arthur said, with this comma. But, Mr. Goody Grammar, why wouldn't I just put a period here? Guess what? This is all part of the same sentence. So it wouldn't make sense to just put a period here and then have that there. Let's combine them. And just pause and then go into King Arthur said. It's very similar to the flip structure of King Arthur said, comma, and then the quote, throw the sword into the lake, period. It looks very similar even when it's switched. Just pay attention to where the comma goes depending on where your quote is. All right. Let's look at this one. Long live Comrade Napoleon, comma, Squealer expounded. In this, once again, we started with a direct quote. Long live Comrade Napoleon. And we set it off from the explanatory words, Squealer expounded, because that is clarifying who said it, with this comma right here. Direct quote, comma, wherever it ends, and boom, Squealer expounded, period, to end our sentence. So you set off your quote from whatever comes next with this comma. Woo! Okay, another one to, bring your mind back. My whiskers are mind-controlling its antennas. Mini Kitty said. So that comma was definitely there for the dramatic pause. My whiskers are mind-controlling antennas, Mini Kitty said. Our full direct quote here is, my whiskers are mind-controlling antennas. Whoa! And we set it off from the explanatory words, Mini Kitty said, with that comma. Keep in mind, the comma goes within the quotation marks. If, we start with that direct quote. Awesome, right? Let's go forward. Don't go living your life without following your dreams, my mother advised. Good advice again, Mom. We have the whole direct quote here, Don't go living your life without following your dreams. And we want to set that apart from, once again, the explanatory words my mother advised, because that is informing us who said it. We set it off, boom, with that comma. It's that simple. You put it within the quotation marks and then jump out of there and tell me who said it. Ooh, awesome! And now, I want you to go ahead and practice this. We have learned a variety of ways to create these types of sentences. But for this one in particular, what I want you to do in the comments section is write an original sentence where a direct quote begins a sentence. So start your sentence with a direct quote, add in that comma at the end, and then the explanatory words about who said it, let me know, and add that into the comment section so I can read it. Boom. Remember, practice, 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 practice. That's how you'll master these concepts. And quotations and commas are a little complicated because of their versatility. That's why it's so important to practice these skills. It will become basically common knowledge after a while. It's like, oh, well, I got this. You don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to think about it. But you know what you do have to think about? Guess what? This employee assistance. Yeah.
We need some employee assistance.
So, for this section, in this section, you will be given different sentences. But you need to read each sentence and determine where you should add commas or other punctuation marks. Let me rewind and give this again. When it comes to employee assistance for tonight, I'm going to give you various sentences. The sentences are void of punctuation marks. It is your job to read each sentence carefully and bloop, 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 pop in those punctuation marks. Specifically, pay close attention to commas. Commas to interrupt sentences, commas to set off direct quotations. Once again, you will be adding in the punctuation marks into the various sentences that I give you. You ready for it? Huh? Oh yeah, that's right, I knew you were. Let's do it. Punctuate the sentence. You cannot even function, Mac Attack said, without your stuffed llama. Again, our sentence is, you cannot even function, Mac Attack said, without your stuffed llama. I know, Mac Attack. I know. Punctuate it. Let's go. Where would you add boop, 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 those commas? Where are you going to put it? Put that into the comments section. Let me know where you're placing some of the commas. Think back to what we just talked about. And if you have to pause and rewind in order to look back at our different grammar rules, feel free to. But then come back to me so we can do this. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer. You cannot even function, comma, Mac Attack said, comma, quotation, without your stuffed llama. Once again, we're having those two commas interjecting the explanatory words into the middle of a quotation. And we set it off with these two commas. Whoa! Let's go ahead and look at some more examples. Tory, with vigor and determination, fought for Native Americans and indigenous peoples' rights. Go, Tory! Go! With vigor and determination! Awesome. So go ahead and punctuate the sentence for me. Tory, with vigor and determination, fought for Native Americans and indigenous peoples' rights. Yeah. Punctuate this for me while I stare at you and get increasingly closer. And put those answers into the comments section. Where would I put commas in this? Oh. All right, I'll give you the answer. Tory, comma, with vigor and determination, comma, fought for Native Americans and indigenous peoples' rights. Here, we interjected, boom, with vigor and determination into the sentence with our 2 commas. This extra information is basically giving us a little more insight into how Tory is fighting. She fought with vigor and determination. However, is that description necessary in this? No. Our original sentence would just be, Tory fought for Native Americans and indigenous peoples' rights. But again, she's not extra, you're not extra. Oh no, she is extra, you guys are extra. This is perfect because guess what? We added this information in there to, boom, spice it up. Add a little bit more flavor, imagery, description to amp up that drama and extraness. So with this regular sentence, there's no quotes here, there are no quotes. We are, boom, interjecting this extra information with the 2 commas. You with me? I know. Let's go on to the next one. Kit looked at me and said, you should learn the science behind a mint plant. Huh, Kit, great idea. Weird thing, they can actually grow themselves from their leaves that fall to the soil and they grow from that. Fun fact, Kit taught me. And Kit also said this. But where should the punctuation go? Let me know. Where would you put a comma or commas in this sentence? I can't wait any longer. I have to go ahead and give you the answer. Kit looked at me and said, comma, you should learn the science behind a mint plant. That's his quote. That's what he said. So we have our introductory words here. Kit looked at me and said, he's the one saying it. It leads into the direct quote. And guess what I did? A little trickery. There's a period right there within the quotation marks. I wanted to see if you would pick that up. Because if we go back here, there's no end punctuation mark. But as we learned before, if a direct quote ends the sentence, you want to put whatever the ending punctuation mark is inside the quotation marks. Just like we have right here. This direct quote ends the sentence. So we want to put our period right there. Oh! See, it's just repetition, repetition, repetition. Seeing it over and over and over and over. The next one. Matthias, a massive fan of the winter season, found himself melting under the desert sun. It's really hot, I agree, Matthias. Where are you going to punctuate this post? What? Where would you add commas? Matthias, a massive fan of the winter season, found himself melting under the desert sun. Oh. What do you think? Where should we punctuate this? I'm going to think about it too. Where? Oh yeah! I almost forgot. I have the answer. Let's go forward and boom! Much like we had 2 examples ago, we're taking an original sentence, Matthias found himself melting under the desert sun, and since we're extra, we wanted to add some unnecessary information in there. So we used 2 commas to boom! Interrupt that sentence and add that unnecessary info. That, guess what? He's a massive fan of the winter season. And I'm a massive fan of The Winter Soldier. Watch it on Disney+. Ooh, Disney, I'm doing sponsorship now, apparently. Pay me, I'm poor. So, once again, we're using 2 commas to insert extra info. You did it. We did the employee assistance. So now, I'm going to go ahead and check you in the aisle. Let's do an aisle check to see what you learned. Here's what's going to happen. For this week's aisle check, in the comments, what you'll do is write 2 original sentences. The first sentence should interrupt your sentence with extra information. So you're just taking a sentence and using 2 commas to add in extra information. Like tons of the examples we did tonight. Feel free to go back and reference those examples when trying to make your I'll check example. That's the first sentence. A sentence that is interrupted with 2 commas to insert extra info. And for the second sentence, you need to write a sentence that sets off a direct quote in any structure. So, put a quote into your sentence and introduce it or interrupt it in any format that you want. We went over 3 different ways to set off a direct quote with a comma or commas. It's up to you to choose which one you want to practice. I definitely recommend practicing having a sentence where you interrupt that direct quote with the explanatory info. It's a little more challenging, but oh so worth it. And the great thing is, the comments that you put into, guess what? The comment section, if they're funny and they're grammatically accurate, I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode. Oh, awesome. And now, tear. It's time to check out for the evening.
Can't get enough general grammar? Make sure to sign up on www.mrgoodiegrammar.com to become a grammar goodie. There, you'll receive extended episodes, guided notes, worksheets, PowerPoints, quizzes, and so much more. Also, follow us doing Whoa Wednesday live streams on Facebook, random dances on TikTok, and handing out grammar challenges on Instagram. With all these resources, you can't help but have the best time learning about English grammar. Whoa!
Quick thing upcoming. We have the word of the week every Sunday. This week's word is coerce. And I'm going to coerce you into going to Mr. Goodie Grammar's beautiful YouTube page and watching that episode. It's Word of the Week 39. Whoa! As you know, we have live sessions every Wednesday on Facebook Live called Whoa Wednesdays. Content episodes come out regularly. And you can even get sentence shoutouts by participating in the comments section. And if there's a specific concept that you want me to teach you, let me know in the comments as well. And reminder, you can find us on various social media platforms, such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you already know YouTube, and our website, www.mrgoodiegrammar.com, where you can sign up to receive exclusive content, including extended episodes, extended videos, video quizzes, podcasts, and so much more. Whoa! So make sure to go to www.mrgoodiegrammar.com. Ding! Alrighty, the worst part of my Wednesdays. It's time to set you free like little birds. Anyway, My name is Mr. Goodie Grammar. Thank you so much for dropping by General Grammar for another Wednesday. And come in anytime. I'll see ya.